Rolling.
You got us? All right, good. All right, well, this is Get It Raw. We're back again. Here to have a conversation with our friend Vinny Polizzi. Did I say it right?
You said it right, man.
No, did I say it like Italian?
You said like you just came off the boat.
Can you? You say it. Say it for me real quick.
Polizzi.
Oh, man, it's sexier when he says it.
Polizzi.
Yeah, man.
Polizzi.
Yeah, my panties just dropped.
I don't want to picture that.
Don't know why you'd be wearing panties in the first place, but okay.
I don't wear them.
I'm married.
He doesn't wear them.
It's a way to keep your marriage, like, flavorful.
Keep it strong, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Keep it going. If I know what she goes through and she knows what I go through, then we can connect on a deeper level. Right. So we both wear thongs.
That's why I've never been married.
Yeah.
Clearly have tried.
Oh, man. Okay, so Vinny, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell people.
Hey, how's it going? I am down here now in Florida. Moved down from New York City.
You've been down here for a while, though.
I got here in 2018.
All right.
So not too long.
Yeah, it's 3 years now.
Yeah.
My old man's been in and out of the hospital, as you guys know.
How's he anyway?
He's doing all right. I mean, he's got his ups and downs, but, he keeps trugging along. He's,
That's good. Yeah.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy that I'm down here to help him and my mother. It's a good thing. It's really weird, like, now at this point in time, because, like, I left home when I was 18. I was gone. I was out. I was done. Never thought I was going to be back.
You mean you were in the mafia? You were like...
There's no such thing as a mafia.
No?
It's a fabrication by the government.
Oh, okay.
So you know what FBI stands for?
No.
Forever Bothering Italians.
Oh, shit.
I have not heard that.
Does that apply to Irish as well?
Yeah, you can put them in there.
Or you just want to say fuck the Irish?
Yeah, kind of. But, no. I have some really good friends who are Irish. I have a friend of mine who's from County Cork, and I've known the guy for over 20 years. And when I talk to him on the phone, I'll just tell him to text me because I still can't understand him. He's a great dude. I literally call him the people's champion. Richie, if you're out there, miss you, mate.
Oh man. Okay, so you left home.
I left home. I was on my own, and now at this point in time, coming back and living with my parents again, it gives me like a whole new perspective on them because, I knew them for a certain point in time in my life. And then, not that I lost contact with them or anything, or saw them, but it wasn't like something I saw or lived every single day. And when you go back, I think anybody who does this, they go back and they see their parents are like, wait a minute, who are you people? Like, where did I come from? Like, what is that? Was that like that when all that time? Really? Okay. And you just kind of, and I'm looking on it now as a really great thing because I get to relearn who my parents are. And I love them. They're great. I've got a great family. I've got, my two parents. I've got three great sisters. But just getting to know them all over again, on a daily basis was something new.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, at least you weren't a mistake.
No. They tell me I was the only one that's planned. I keep texting my sisters every once in a while, and I can show you on my phone now. I have a T-shirt that says, I'm Mom's favorite, and I text them, I'm like, just remember this. Because I actually got my mother to admit it at Christmas once. I was like, Mom, come on, just let everybody know. Like, you know it, I know it, they all know it, but just say it. Like, I'm your favorite, right? I'm your favorite, right? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She doesn't want to say it because she doesn't want to say it out loud because she doesn't want to hurt my sister's feelings. But, it is. I am the favorite.
It is what it is, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my mom said, oops, fuck, oh shit, god damn it, 4 times in a row.
Really?
Yeah. 4 kids, it was shit,
Yeah.
oops, god damn it, fuck.
I'm one of 4.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have 3 sisters, though.
Yeah.
I had 3 brothers.
2 older, 1 younger.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, you learn a lot sharing a bathroom with 3 women for 18 years.
Oh man,
That's why you didn't get married.
Oh man,
That's pretty wild. I'm also one of 4.
okay,
The oldest of the 4.
wow.
And
Oh, fuck, I didn't even think about that. You're
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we could sit 3 people down together and they all would be, have the same number of siblings. But yeah, and I was listening, like, to think about me if I was to go back and live with them again. I was out around 18, then I was back, then I was out, then I was back. I've been in and out until I, got in this house finally. And so I feel like I hadn't missed out on that big chunk of time, that difference for, because they've always been there. We've always been in Florida, been in the same city. So
Okay.
just the dynamic of what you've gone through, what you're seeing now versus what I feel like the exposure I've had to my parents and knowing about Ray and with his mom and dad, it's, we do have the same number of siblings, but I guarantee you, like, our relationships are all different with our parents, which
Yeah.
What are you trying to
comes as no
say?
surprise. But it's just interesting.
Yeah. Well, I can't go back. I won't go back. I will die before that happens. But that's the way it is. My dad was, left at a very early age. He was a junkie, a little bit. He moved on with his life, and my mother was batshit crazy. So I took care of my 3 brothers, but that's what life deals with. So anyway, you got 3 sisters, beautiful sisters, right?
Yeah, I moved out when I was 18. I'm gonna be 50 this coming summer. So
You look great, man.
I'm 49 years old, and
Every time I see
It
you,
was
you look like you're 30. You look in your 30s,
Thank you.
You look good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I actually had a work colleague say that to me a few days ago. She was 19, and I said, she asked me, she goes, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 50." I'm almost 50. She's like, "I thought you were 30." I was like, "I like you a lot." I was like, "Yeah, you're awesome."
What did she say?
She's like, "Wow, you look good." I was like, "I know." I was like, "This doesn't just happen. Come on, it takes a lot of work to look like this."
Did you get a number?
No.
Oh, come on, man.
No.
I mean, that's basically a woman's version of like, hey,
No.
you interested? Right? Am I wrong for saying that?
No, and I never want to say I'm too old, but
You're too
I'm
old.
too old. You're 19. You know what I mean?
You think Hugh Hefner ever said that?
I doubt it.
No, Hugh Hefner, he probably said to the girl, "You're too old," and she was probably, 22.
Right. All right. So okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, you left home when you're 18. You're
Yeah.
living on your own. You come back to take care of your mother and your father, which is romantic as shit anyway, right? You got this Italian beef hunk of a man. It looks like he's in his 30s, and
Wooing 19-year-olds all over the land.
apparently my panties aren't the only one dropping at this point. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to say like my parents aren't invalid. You know what I mean? Like they're still get up and get around, but it just helps having me near and close right now.
And they're good people, man. They're lovely people.
They're awesome people.
Yeah. All right. So now what? What's going on now?
Now, if you told me this, man, a couple years ago, I would have said no way. But down here now, I'm working at a place called the Gulf Coast Humane Society, and I am working with dogs, and it's amazing. I absolutely love it. I love going to work every day. It's fantastic. The people there are great. The people who work there are great. The dogs are really awesome. They just, there's cats there too. Let me tell you that. I gotta mention the cats.
Yeah, but they're all pussies.
Yeah.
Listen, man. I mean, it makes sense though. You got this tall, dark, like handsome man around puppies all day. Of course, 19-year-olds are gonna throw themselves at them. You probably got a couple of 20-year-olds and some 30-year-olds. You probably got, puppies are like babies. They come.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. Somebody said, "Well, what's it like, having all those puppies?" I was like, "Well," I was talking to this woman at the shelter. I was like, "Oh, it's great." I was like, "But do you have kids?" She's like, "Yeah." I was like, "How many kids do you have?" She's like, "I have 4." I was like, "Okay. Well, picture having all 4 of your kids at once. Okay. Then take those kids after put them in a playpen." But no diapers, and leave and come back an hour later and see what it looks like. I was like, that's what it's like taking care of puppies. They are shit machines. That's what they do.
And then you go, "Aww." Did you do that? She did, didn't she?
She kind of went like,
She's like, you handle shit all day?
basically, that is what I do. I pick up a lot of shit all day long, man.
And you're happy.
I am extremely happy. I rather take the shit from dogs than the shit I got to take from humans. But no, I mean, when I first got down here, I was selling wine. You know what I mean? I was doing wine sales.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking earlier about the notes and the expressions of Chardonnay, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking? And you're saying, it's not that I hate IPAs, I just don't like the expression. What the fuck is this guy talking about expressions? Elaborate a little bit. You know a lot about this shit more than I do.
When it comes to wine, spirits, things like that, like different makers, let's stick with wine. Different winemakers can do different things. Or the growing conditions, when and how they harvest, to the type of aging vessels that they use can all add different notes and different things to wines.
Okay.
So when we were talking about Chardonnay earlier, I used to say before I started expanding my knowledge of wine that, I hate Chardonnay, I hate Chardonnay, I hate Chardonnay. And I found out after drinking and trying different things, I don't hate Chardonnay. I just hate certain expressions of Chardonnay. All winemakers are artists, and every artist creates something a little bit unique, a little bit different. And I found my palate tends to be more towards French Chardonnays than American Chardonnays.
Wow, what's the difference?
Well, it depends. Like I said, it all depends on the grower, what they're doing, and there's no absolutes in wine. You know what I mean? I don't believe that. I mean, there's no really absolutes in life. Anything can happen. But what I mean is the Chardonnays that you generally find here in America are very buttery, very oaky, very just,
Americans like butter. Because we're Americans.
More America.
Yeah.
This is America. We want fucking butter.
Yeah. So they're very heavily oaked and heavily buttery.
Right.
They go through a process called malolactic fermentation, which certain white wines do, like American Chardonnays do, but no other white wines go through that malolactic fermentation. I don't want to say no. All red wines have to go through it.
Why? What does it do?
It takes away the harshness. It mellows it out. It actually
It mellows the note.
It makes it palatable.
Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Like it was talking about.
It's taking an acid out of a wine. It's taking and making it more approachable. You wouldn't be able to drink it without it going through that. This is the red wines. So back where was I?
Well, I just got a question for you actually.
Go
ahead.
I was about to say no. Everybody does something different. Now I tend to like the more French Chardonnays because they tend to be a bit more crisp. They tend to be not over oaked, over buttered. They're still a full-bodied white wine like Chardonnay is, but it doesn't have that heaviness to it that I find in American Chardonnay, that heavy, oaky buttery that I'm not a fan of.
Now, being that you have a really strong knowledge of wine, have you seen a difference as far as like mold inhibitors within the American wines versus the European wines?
Not that I've really noticed. I'm not too sure about mold inhibitors.
All right, there's some like literature coming out that's actually been out for a while. The link between cancer and alcohol. Wines tend to be elevate a woman's risk more so for breast cancer than most other alcohols. Okay. However, the suspicion is European wines may not be linked to cancer as much as American wines, and the thought process behind that is possibly the mold inhibitors used within American wines versus European wines. Just wondered if you had heard anything like that.
No, nothing. I haven't heard anything about mold inhibitors. I know that there's different things that one thing you have to realize: all winemakers are farmers first.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Overall,
put it this way: the grower producers are are pretty much farmers first. And certain crops, like anything, they throw chemicals, pesticides to get their crop.
Right.
You want to look for winemakers that are trying to use the most natural process possible. You have your inexpensive wines. Like if you're paying, if you got that 1.5 liter of wine and you're paying $5.99, $6 for it, there's a reason for that. It's because it's a whole lot of just, grapes that really aren't seen to that well, that are just, sprayed with anything to keep pesticides off them. And they're making,
most of the wine that I drank.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's all I can afford. So, did you see a difference between European and American wines, though, as far as that's concerned? Natural versus.
Well, what I noticed the difference mostly in is the taste. The taste of wines, like American wines are very, especially California Cabernet, it's very fruit forward, very jammy, very.
They're pretty fruity over there. I mean, Florida gets a lot of shit from the other states. California's a little fruity. Anyway, I'm talking about the wine. I'm talking about the wine.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, I'm talking. Well, yeah.
There's Florida fruit wines here too.
Are they? So,
people ask me, "You want to try some of this orange wine?" No.
Yeah. Those are the rednecks. Those are the ones that are like, I hate gays. Come here, boy. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt you. So go ahead.
What I noticed myself, just because I'm much more a fan of European wine and Italian wine in general. Just that's my personal taste. Not that there's not American wines that I don't like. It's just that my taste generally run towards Italian wine and European wine. I've been drinking Italian wine since I was a kid. Like I grew up in an Italian family, and my parents never let us get drunk, but they would always, especially Sunday dinners. That was a big thing in my family. Sunday dinner, they would always have, let you taste a little bit of wine.
Sure, yeah.
Because, the thinking in Italy, like wine is food. No one in Italy drinks wine to get drunk or to imbibe. It's a complement to a meal. No one really drinks wine just to have a glass of wine. If they drink wine, they're having some cheese, some nuts, some olives, whatever. They're eating something with it. No one really goes out to a bar and orders a glass of wine in Italy.
And so they kind of savor it more. Is what you're saying?
It's savourable, but it's more. It's a complement to food. It's not something you really imbibe with.
Kind of like in America, we complement our pizza with beer.
Yes.
Nobody really drinks beer without pizza.
Or bacon. We complement every food, with bacon.
Bacon and beer together. I mean, come on.
Yeah. We need a bacon beer.
I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure there's a bacon and beer beer out there somewhere.
If not, we want credit.
Of all the things, man, being in the liquor business, of all the things, I've seen some things, crazily infused things. I was in a bar once back in New York, and the bartender was a friend of mine, and I'm sitting behind the bar. I had been out the night before, and I hit it pretty hard, and I'm hungover. And then all of a sudden, behind the bar, of course, the next morning, I'm in a bar again. Go figure. Hair of the dog. But I'm behind the bar. I'm looking behind the bar, and I see this bottle, and there's no label on it. It's just a bottle, and it's got clear liquor and something floating in there. And I went from the bartender. What is that? She's like, "Oh, that's our vodka that we use for our Bloody Marys. I'm like, what's in the bottle?" She's like, "Bacon," and it looked like a fucking science experiment. And I couldn't. It was just like all shriveled up. It looked like it'd been in there forever. And this was the type of bar too that I would never order a mixed drink in to save my life. Like, if I got beer in there, so because it came out of a bottle, and I knew the bottle was more sanitary than any glass that was in this friggin' bar.
So what's the grossest shit?
But I couldn't look at it. My point was I couldn't look at it. Like I was hungover, and I'm looking. Oh, I can't see that right now. I'm like, you got to put something in front of that, or I'm leaving.
What's the grossest shit you've had?
Wow.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I drank so much that I really can't remember.
Well, that means you had a good time.
There was that night way back a long time ago when I had hair. I think somebody bet to drink the bar mat.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No, that shit happens?
Yeah, that shit happens.
No, that's fucking gross.
Yeah.
How much came off of the mat?
Oh, there's Trust me, there's some liquid in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought that was just a joke.
No, it's not. There's people who do it for real.
We would play a game. There are several versions, I think, where you'd be going around drawing cards or however you're going. Then, one of the cards was everybody dumps a little bit of their drink into the center cup. And, finally, like either the last one of those cards or there's one card in the deck that if you got that, then you had to drink it, chug it, the whole thing. And that was not good.
No, it's never good.
People drinking all of it, everything. Wine, beer, liquor.
Yeah.
That's when you end up in the hospital.
Or should end up in the hospital.
Yeah, or you don't wake up at all.
But all your friends are paramedics at that point. So.
All right, so what's the best shit you've ever had? Is there anything that
I was just in 2019 before the whole COVID thing happened. It was my last trip to Italy. I went there for a work trip. I went to this big expo called Vin Italy. Every winemaker in Italy converges on Verona, and they just it's amazing. It's a big wine convention of like every winemaker in Italy, and it's fantastic. I've drank some amazing wines there. There's a wine called Poggi Sotto. They have a Brunello Montedicino, which is absolutely out of this world. Mm-hmm. Brunello is a place in Montedicino is a place in Tuscany, and the grapes that they're using in this wine are Sangiovese Grosso. They're the same grapes that are in Chianti, but Chianti is a different place, and so there's slight differences in them because in Europe, European wines are mostly named after the place where they come from, whereas American wines, the name of the grape varietal is on the bottle. It's starting to change a little bit, but that was one of the best things I think I've ever drank in my life.
Oh, wow. Good.
Yeah. I did, this was a very long time ago, was able to get a little bit of a 1982 Chateau Lafite Rothschild, which I was working in the Plaza Hotel at the time on 59th Street in New York City. I was managing the Oak Bar in the Oak Room, and there was a couple there that were in earlier one night, and they, for some reason, I don't understand why, left half of a decanter of 1982 Chateau Lafite Rothschild, which at that time, this was the early 90s, the bottle was like $2,500 on the wine list in the hotel, and I was like, holy crap, why are you leaving this? Anyway, make a long story short, this guy who was the maitre d' there, this guy named Fred Christina, he was the man. He'd been there forever. He started there working as a busboy in 1939, and he went to World War II, did everything, came back and worked there all the way through up until the mid to late 90s. He was a maitre d' in the Oak Room, and we used to sit every night in the Cohen table, the Cohen corner. George M. Cohen was a big Broadway producer, and he had his own table there. We used to sit every night when I'm doing the registers. All my staff is giving me their receipts from the night and making sure that everything's matched up. Fred would sit there in the back. We'd have a little something from the kitchen, and he would tell me stories about meeting like Marilyn Monroe, Burt Lancaster, all these famous celebrities and stars back then. And I sat there and I drank that Rothschild with him that night, and that was a real honor because he was just a living legend of the Plaza Hotel, which is, the building's still there, but it's not the Plaza Hotel anymore.
What is it now?
When I was there, it was actually owned by Trump at the time. Fairmont Hotels came in and bought it after that happened. I think it was around 95, I'm going to say. They came in and took over the hotel. sorry, what was the question again?
No, I was just asking you what it's called now.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's still called a plaza, but it's not a hotel anymore. They've converted it over to residential and event spaces.
Oh, okay.
It looks completely different. Well, parts of the lobby do, but like the Palm Court is still there, a famous restaurant. The Edwardian Room, I don't think, is still functioning. That was a beautiful room. Really, like just the work and the work and the woodworking and the ceiling and everything that they did. It was really beautiful. And so was the Oak Room. And they kind of just, they took over the hotel and they took down these really beautiful murals of that they've had hanging up in there forever, and they changed a lot of things that just to me weren't for the better.
That's corporatism for you, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna get fired up in a little bit. Vinny's on my side, by the way. We have a lot. Well, you will too. We have a lot that we agree on. Okay, so first of all, did you get to meet Trump?
Yeah, I met him a few times.
How was that?
All right.
Just all right? A few times.
Yeah, I met him a couple times in Atlantic City because a long time ago I used to work. Hold on, buddy, I got you. Hey, Sadie. I used to work for Trump Castle in Atlantic City. I valet park cars. You know what I mean? It was a great job for an 18-year-old kid. But I met him. Yeah, I met him a few times. Nothing really stands out for me.
Okay. Did you get to meet Ivanka?
I met her. Yes, she was always around the hotel.
Yeah.
But then this is the time now. He was married to Marla Maples, and she used to come in. She used to come in the Oak Room all the time. I was like, "Hi, Mrs. T." She's like, "Hi, baby." You love him that much? Look at this. I'm here.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure she had a couple of misters on the side.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. Thank you. Thank you for the kisses.
But by the way, we should probably introduce Rocco.
This is Rocco.
Yeah, that's Rocco, 13-year-old Jack Russell.
And he's the star of the show.
Yeah, well, he found the other star of the show there, and he's like, "Oh, this guy's gonna massage me all night."
I will keep petting you.
So you went from wine, then you went to puppies, which, I mean, come on, you're making us look bad.
I was always into dogs, man. I bartended for a really long time. I traveled a lot.
And now you're interested in maybe even starting up a podcast.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I got some stuff to say.
What are you thinking about? What comes to the top of your head when you say you got some stuff to say?
Just about everyday life. Things that people are going through, and if I can help somebody, deal with that a little bit. If they can, when I hear people talk or inspirational people, they're not even trying to be inspirational. You understand what I'm saying? Like when you hear people talk, you pick up ideas. I think what you guys are doing here is fantastic. Like it's just a free flow of really, of ideas, just good, healthy conversation. But when I talk about stuff that I love to talk about movies. I love to talk about, politics. I love to talk about, current, whatever's going on, current events. I think I can converse on mostly any level, almost on any subject. I'm a huge Roman history geek.
You're truly Italian, my friend. No Greek mythology or anything like that?
Well, yeah, that too.
Oh, that too.
Get to it. You want me to say everything?
I'm just wondering. But the problem is, you told me earlier, you're not paying attention to the Jets.
No, I haven't been. I haven't been paying attention to the NFL in general for a while, and that's not any political statement. I just haven't been into football.
You can start paying attention.
I'm a Yankee fan, and I really haven't even paid attention to that too much over the past couple of years.
Well, COVID-19 really disrupted.
COVID-19 screwed up everything, but oh my God, it was at one point in time every major sport was on TV. Was it August? I think every single sport was on TV. Usually that's like one of the deadest months out of the year for sports.
Hey, COVID-19 was good for the Florida teams. California and New York had their problems with COVID. The Florida teams, basketball, hockey, football, baseball. Hey,
The Marlins?
We made it in all.
The Rays.
We made it in all of them.
Yeah.
Made all the
The
championships.
finals.
I thought you were talking about like dealing with the virus. Like the Marlins,
No,
the whole
no.
team was down with the freaking virus.
No. Well, I mean, that's how you win. You got
Yeah, we won the Stanley Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And
Go
that
Rays.
was the only one. That was the Lightning.
Well, I know, but I'm just
Okay.
shooting. I'm not a hockey
Runners
buff.
up in baseball to the World Series.
Thank you.
And now the Bucks are in the Super Bowl.
Runners up in basketball.
That's right.
Well, the Miami Heat.
Oh man, the Heat were fucking phenomenal. You know, if they
Crazy.
with Butler, I mean, they did shit that nobody expected them to be in that championship, and they went against the Lakers, who pretty much look unstoppable right now. But
Yeah, I mean, they
the
were
Heat-
meant to win.
man, kudos. So Florida, Florida did a good job this year. Keep it up.
Right on the
Yay,
Super Bowl.
Florida.
Yeah, right. Huh?
Yay, Florida.
Yeah, right. So, are you going to go back and pay attention to football if Deshaun Watson signs with the Jets?
I will pay attention if he signs with the Jets.
Because all of a sudden the Jets are a little relevant. No,
It's that old saying, what Jet stands for? JETS, just end the season. I was like, what, we're going for a perfect season this year. And we couldn't even do that right. Like, we couldn't even keep a losing record throughout the whole season to get a top #1 draft pick.
I'm sorry, man. That's tough. And I'm not sure if Sam Darnold is.
They even fired a coach because he threw a game.
Well, in all fairness, being down here watching the Dolphins, Adam Gase. I don't know if Adam Gase was the answer for anybody.
He said that they fired one coach. I just thought of it because they threw the game.
He basically
right?
threw the
When
game.
they played the Raiders.
Yeah.
They gave up a last second touchdown by calling an all out blitz, and they just dumped it over the top on him. And then they fired Gase for winning 2 games at the end of the season.
Well, come on, man.
Okay.
If you're gonna suck, you might as
Yeah, I
well
agree.
You got to suck at the highest level.
at the highest
agree.
level, because the number one prize is Trevor Lawrence. He's considered a generational quarterback. But if they pull off Deshaun Watson, then hey. I mean, they got Saleh. I think that's how you say his name, right? I think it's Saleh.
The only thing that Jets have, I think there's only one team that the Jets can look down at, and it's maybe the Browns.
Oh, I don't know. The Browns are looking pretty good this year.
No,
No, the Browns are good this year.
really?
Yeah. Well, because you weren't paying
They made the
attention.
playoffs.
They
They
barely
won
lost.
in the playoffs.
Okay.
Barely lost against Kansas City.
Yeah,
They gave Kansas City a run for their money, more so than the Bills.
they did.
They did, yeah.
It's true.
The Browns are on the up and up. The Jets, I'm trying to think of a team that's possibly more pathetic. Jags.
Jacksonville was bad.
Jacksonville's bad.
They were bad, but they also had flashes of life.
They did, but
And even in recent years, they were decent.
they have good players, and they can win games. And then once they start winning, they say, "Oh, gotta trade this guy, gotta trade that guy. Let's get rid of him." And so the Jets, they're struggling, but the Jags suck because they're just purposely giving away talent, and they purposely tank, in my opinion.
You know what a lot of teams
Are they
do?
needing cash?
I'm sorry.
Is the team needing cash?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. They're talking about how this player is disruptive. We're going to get rid of him, and apparently from a lot of the players when they leave, they're complaining that management sucks. The coaching staff sucks. Management sucks. They can't get anything done.
That's what's
Nobody's
going
on
on
the
in
same page.
Houston right now too. That's what everybody's saying about Houston for the last few years. Everybody's coming out saying how terrible the management and ownership is.
Well, Deshaun's just saying, "Listen, man, make me a part of the hiring process."
At least, I mean, that was part of it. He also wanted to be. He was upset that they got rid of his receiver, his buddy Hopkins. But at some point, though, really, are the players really supposed to be a part of the hiring process? I mean, first of all, management should be good enough to do it. And if they're inept, then turn them, get rid of them and get managers that can manage properly. I don't know if I think that the players so much should be a part of the hiring
The
process.
inmates should not be running the asylum.
The quarterback might get a little knock. At least might want to talk to him and say, "Hey, we're going to get rid of Hopkins." And then I'd be like, "No, don't do that. He's the #1 receiver in the league." let alone on the team. Plus, they go back to college together. Like, that was a big deal.
Yeah, and Watson's defense, yeah, exactly. He's playing with a guy that he played with in college, who he knows is a baller. He'll catch anything in his radius. At the same time, though,
to bring in a new offensive coordinator and or head coach,
he's pissed off that the GM might run this team like Bill O'Brien did with the Patriot way. And it didn't work. He wants to move on. And also, he wants to see a more equitable interviewing process of other coaches, i.e. black coaches, like Benemy from Kansas City. Nobody gave that guy an opportunity. They interviewed him, but they just passed up on him for whatever reason. So I think Watson's coming at it from multiple perspectives. And at this point, he says, you know what? You took Hopkins away from me. First of all, everybody told me that I wasn't going to be a top prospect in this league, and I proved them wrong. And then you bring in, you get rid of Hopkins, and then you bring in a GM that's going to run the same system that Bill O'Brien did. Come on. So I think he just wants to go to a team that he has more faith in.
Yeah, I don't blame Hopkins not Hopkins, Watson. But you look at the other teams, like guys from the Jets have done it. They've complained and accused the coaches, the management. The Jaguars have done it. They've done that too. So it is something that seems to be a trend in the league about the players upset with management, and I don't like that. I really don't like that so much. But what I will also say, I wanted to point out earlier, is that a lot of teams, small market teams, like the Marlins, have done it over and over and over. Jaguars seem like they've done it. They get players young, they get them cheap. These players turn into be good players, so then the owner will sell them off, and then the owner makes big bucks. And he's using this. They're basically just using the team to make money. They don't care if they win.
Right.
They don't care if they're about championships. They don't care about the fan base, other than the fan base buying stuff, coming to games. Not even so much. Just buy the products. But they make money off of the players. So they're like they said, a farm team. They're growing and raising players and then selling them and making money off of the people.
Right.
So that's really what I think is happening with a lot of these smaller teams, like Jaguars and
this is a part of the conversation that pisses me off, because I know a lot of people say, "Oh, the kneeling thing bothered me, so I don't want to watch football anymore. I'm tired of it." I know, right? And they're like, "I'm tired of the politics and sports." Like LeBron James just dribble the fucking basketball. Like, he's a goddamn person.
Exactly.
He can't express an opinion. You're an accountant at a fucking job. Laura Ingraham, you're a fucking journalist, so-called journalist, opinion journalist, or TV personality, really. Shut the fuck up and talk. You know what I mean? Why are you involved in politics? He's a fucking person. He has a right to express his opinion. Who cares?
Just because they have a bigger platform than you to say what they want to say doesn't mean they shouldn't be able to say it.
Exactly right.
I mean, it's been that way. I mean, I feel you look at people, they say, well, money shouldn't equal speech. And I agree, money shouldn't equal speech. But guess what? Money is equaling speech these days.
Right now, yeah.
Exactly. And so, yes, these guys have a certain position. They have a certain status. They should be able to, like anybody else, to express their belief, whether you agree with it or not. And that's the whole thing. Why I think podcasts like this are really good is because people have lost. I think people don't listen to people. The conversation is gone.
They lost perspective.
And that's what you need. That's what platforms like this are able to do. Are able to give a good perspective on what's out there.
But Vinny, the problem is a lot of people don't listen either. They just kind of
they wait for their turn to talk.
Right.
People, you could be talking to me, blah 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 blah, and you know what? Someone might not listen. Might not listen to you. They'll just be like, okay, I have an idea. I want to say this to him. I want to say this to him. I want to say this to him, and not listening to whatever you're saying, and they just waiting for a break for them to add in whatever they want to say.
That's right. I just did that.
That's what I was doing. I kept going on. I kept running on.
No, you're right though, because all right, let's just go back a second, okay? LeBron leaves Cleveland the first time, right? The fucking fans of Ohio burned his damn jersey.
Yeah.
And he basically said, "I'm leaving because I want to go to an organization and Pat Riley where I can learn to win and play with my friends." He wants to play with friends of his, like good, strong friends, people that are part of his family, and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. He wins in Miami, and then he goes back to Cleveland. Everybody's happy, great. He leaves them again. Okay, but
after he's won in Cleveland.
Well, here we'll go back a little bit. They go to a championship against the Golden State. Golden State beats them. He comes back home to see somebody wrote on his fucking gate the N-word, called him a nigger, and they're fucking talking shit about him in his hometown, in his home state, where they should love him.
I didn't hear that. Really?
Yeah, they did. He came home to seeing this word on his gate, and his children probably saw it too. And he thought to himself, and he came out and he said this, and in a couple of interviews I've heard, he said that's when he realized, and it was right around the same time that Trayvon Martin happened, that's when he realized that no matter how successful he was, no matter how wealthy he was just another black man in America.
Yeah.
Period. And when Trayvon Martin happened, and what's that guy's name? I can't fucking remember his name.
George Zimmerman?
Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Zimmerman got off. He said that could have been my kid.
Mm-hmm.
My kid could have been shot and killed and just brushed aside like that. And that's when he started speaking out. He basically is telling you, I've had enough of all this bullshit. I'm leaving to go to LA because I want to go somewhere that's good for my kids and somewhere where they're not going to call me a nigger. In my hometown, like, I can't fucking believe that. And you're going to get pissed with him because he wants to go to a place that's better for him and his family? It makes no sense. Kaepernick comes out, right? Kaepernick says, this is what he says, I'm kneeling to protest against a country who has practiced injustice against the black population for police brutality. That's what he knelt down for. President Trump comes out and says he hates veterans.
He consulted a veteran about what to do. Kaepernick, from my understanding, consulted a veteran about, hey, look, I want to do like a little protest. Would it be? How would you feel about kneeling? You think it's disrespecting the flag, kneeling? And he told him no.
Right. Well, a lot of them said, listen, we purposely fought for your right to
be able to do that.
Exactly.
It's like, take flag burning. People burn American flags, which I don't believe in any way, shape, or form. I don't think you should burn the flag. But
We're going to burn this flag after this podcast.
I know we're not. We don't have
so this Florida, you ain't burning no flag. No, but it is a form of protest, and people died for that flag. No, they didn't die for the flag. They died for what the flag represents, which is their right to burn it. You know what I mean? Their right to criticize their government. But I would find another way to do that.
Sure, but if you're Native American, or if you're black, or if you're Asian,
yeah,
are you happy with what this flag represents? The genocide against Native Americans, the slavery of black individuals. I mean, are you happy? You forget Asians weren't allowed to own property until like the 40s or 50s.
Dude, Japanese internment camps.
Yeah.
Right? When World War II happened, people who were living here their whole lives got thrown into camps because they were Asian, because they were Japanese.
And white people are all like, come on, have some fucking respect. Listen, the point is that Kaepernick originally said, I'm kneeling to protest against police brutality. Nobody listened to him. Nobody heard what he said.
No. Trump
came out and turned it around and said he's doing it to protest the military, the veterans. And then all of a sudden, people are revolting against Kaepernick. And I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. I'm not saying that he should play. I'm just saying that the message got fucking muddled up because the president came out and misrepresented what he was doing.
It got muddled up by, I think it was more than just the president. I think it was just everyone, you get all the pundits on TV and radio chiming in. You get...
but who has the biggest loudspeaker?
Of course.
I mean, the president comes out and he tweets it, and he says it.
But
and then you have Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity who reverberate that.
They're just, I think Trump got his talking points from Hannity and from
sure.
Ingraham. I don't even think he had an original idea in his head.
The point is that people that got upset with Kaepernick and got upset with football players for kneeling and protesting against police brutality didn't understand what these athletes were kneeling for. And they were basically blaming these players for something that the president made up. And you go back to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali, he came out and said it. He said, "Why am I going to fight for a country that kills my brother, rapes my sister, lynches my father?" and burns a cross on my lawn.
Yeah.
A Viet Cong never raped me, never hung me, never lynched me.
Mm-hmm.
I can completely fucking understand that.
Yeah.
And also, do you know how flag burning started? Back in the 60s? Or I think it was like early 60s. I heard this story on Bill Maher, so forgive me if I get it wrong. But apparently there was a child who went to school. They had just segregated some of the high schools or colleges. And this child, this black child, goes to school, okay? I want to say he went to a college or a high school. I can't remember. And he was shot and killed that day. And this black individual on the street corner wanted to shout out that the idealism of America has basically failed today. The attributes that we give to America have just crumbled. And he's yelling this out and nobody's paying attention. And you gotta remember, back then, there's no social media. They just had news and paper. That's all they had. So what did he do to get some attention? He burned the fucking flag. All of a sudden, TV networks were interviewing him and talking to him, and guess what? He got arrested and went to jail for burning the flag. And his court case went all the way to the Supreme Court, where they ruled that flag burning was a form of speech. He was cleared for freedom of speech. But that's how it came about. He burned the flag to get someone's fucking attention of why the black population is pissed off because they can't go to school without getting shot. I think that's pretty fucking sobering, in my opinion.
It's very sobering. I didn't realize this was a buddy of mine back in, it was like 04, 05, who was dating a black girl. He's a white guy. He was dating a black girl, and she was from Arkansas. And she was living in New York now, and she was telling it didn't dawn on me that she's like, yeah, in my town back home, there's still a black prom and a white prom. I was like, what? She's like, yeah. I was like, are you like, how's that possible? She's like, yeah, there's still a black prom and a white prom in the high school there where she grew up.
How long
and
ago was that?
This was in 2004, 2005.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was like, are you kidding me? She's like, no.
That's fucking insane.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, there are still some places on this planet where races don't mix, man. People don't,
Well, those honkies in Alabama don't know what a black prom is like. They got the best music and the best dancing. So,
Yeah, I mean, it took me, a while to grasp it because, wow, it made me think I'm this privileged, maybe Northeasterner, you know what I mean, who doesn't understand that there's another world out there that's not like New York, not like New York.
You're a privileged white man who has toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
Right?
But you understand. You know what I'm trying to make. It's basically that it's like, wow. I mean, I've been living in a bubble. Didn't realize stuff like this was still going on.
That's complete, and that's the problem. Is I think most people live in a fucking bubble and they don't know that shit like this still goes on. That's the problem. And how do we fix it?
Well, I have always said that the last few weeks notwithstanding, but Americans ain't gonna get up off their butt to protest anything until they don't have 200 channels of cable and get a cheeseburger delivered. You know what I mean? Hey, they're going to take away your Social Security and, take away all the things that we fought for all these years. You want to come down and protest? Nah, The Bachelorette's on. I'm going to sit here and watch this. Like, what the fuck? Like, nah, there's a game on tonight. I'm just going to sit home and watch this.
Right. I think that shit is there for a reason, too. I think all that garbage on television is there to distract people from what really is going on. And I think for the majority, Vinny, of people in this country, they have more in common than they do that divides them.
Of course.
The problem is they're being divided and they can't fucking realize what they have in common.
Can't see the forest but for the trees, man.
Right. Poor black people and poor white people are in the same fucking boat. They're getting fucking screwed by the wealthy corporations.
In anything in life, I think, you want to find the truth to anything, follow the money.
Yeah, I agree.
Follow the money. You want to know and this is one thing that kind of gets on my nerves about like when I listen to talk shows, whether they be there you go, buddy. When they listen to talk shows, whether they be like on MSNBC, Bill Maher, whether it be Sean Hannity, Ingram, whoever, like Rush Limbaugh. No one. They all talk about the problems and tell you who to blame, but I don't think they really hit the nail on the head because no one's saying, "Hey, look, you got a problem with big oil or whatever, follow the money. See who they're contributing money to.
Right.
You got a problem with, the drug war, follow the money. See who's making the money off the prohibition of drugs. See
It's
where the
both
money.
sides.
Follow the money in anything. Well, I don't care if you're friggin', lobbying for tomato farm growers. You know what I mean? See who they're. Follow the money. You want to find out the truth to any issue, anything that's out there. Always follow the money. Following the money will lead you to the truth.
Yeah, I totally agree. The fact of the matter is, but people are distracted. People have busy lives. They don't have time to fucking follow all this bullshit. And they're all polarized, or they're all like dogmatic about a Democrat or Republican. And that's just bullshit.
Everybody's for low-income housing as long as it's not on their block.
Right, right.
Everybody's for the recycle waste treatment plant as long as it's not on their block.
I mean,
so it's basically people know what they know. They know their little piece of earth, whatever that they own. They call their home, and hey, I take care of mine. The rest of it, I don't know who's that up to.
I see so many fucking problems, and the first thing I think is I was listening to Tulsi Gabbard the other day on Rogan's podcast, and I've listened to her.
I don't know that much about her.
Well, she's a hot Hawaiian chick.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that today, and I wish you would have said that earlier because I said, "Oh, Tulsi Gabbard, that might be interesting." Oh, The Undertaker. All right, there we go. Let's listen to The Undertaker.
The Undertaker pulled you in. Forget about the fucking problems of the world. Well, Tulsi had a problem where she went into Congress. She's a part of the military. She's a veteran. She comes into Congress wanting to do some good, just like everybody else. She's like Mrs. Smith goes to Washington, and the Democrats divide themselves up into cliques, and so do the Republicans. She says, "Oh, this is like a fucking high school. This is a high school." She gives Boehner a high five for doing yoga, which I really wouldn't want to see that anyway. Can you imagine him crying during a upward dog? Well, anyway. She gives him a high five, and apparently, some of the Democrats are snickering about her talking to the Republicans. It's just bullshit, and that's what she's calling out. It's just bullshit. But she can't take a congressional seat unless she's a Democrat or Republican, and she's basically advocating for the return of the Fairness Doctrine. Have you heard of this Fairness Doctrine? I think we've talked about this before.
We probably have, but I probably know it. I'm just not remembering as the Fairness Doctrine.
Okay, so
enlighten me.
Because back in I want to say it was the early 1900s or late 1800s. We all forget how journalism was treated. John Quincy Adams had journalists arrested and put in jail, in prison and whatnot for writing scathing articles about him. And so in the late 1800s and the 1900s, the Congress passed a bill called the Fairness Doctrine. And what it did was it forced media, and at the time you're talking about papers and
Town Crier,
right? Which led to eventually cable news and network TV. It forced them that if they're going to talk about a political situation, they have to talk about it from both sides. They cannot talk about just one side. They cannot provide just opinion. And now they're also held at a higher standard for libel and slander. So it forced them to be honest. That's what it did. It forced them to be honest. Well, guess what? Nixon is president. Roger Ailes is a part of his cabinet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Cheney's a part of the cabinet as well. He's low totem pole. Roger Ailes is trying to push Nixon to basically repeal the Fairness Doctrine, but doesn't happen because Nixon, resigns from office.
And who was on the Creed committee?
Oh, go ahead.
Roger Stone.
Roger Stone was part of Creed. Fucking asshole. But anyway, you gotta hand it to him. The guy he is brilliant. But anyway. 2000s come, Cheney's now in a position of great power as the vice president, right, with George W. Bush. who, if you give him a rattle, he can be busy for hours. So Cheney, works with Congress to basically repeal the Fairness Doctrine. Now, you look back then. Remember in the 90s? Did you have a Sean Hannity? Did you have a Cuomo? Did you have a Don Lemon? There weren't so much opinion news back then.
Yeah.
Since then, you see opinion news. And now people don't trust the fucking media for the last 20 years. You can't trust it.
Well, with the advent of cable news, there's more outlets in streaming news, not even just cable news. Wow, I dated myself saying cable. But the streaming news, there's a lot more avenues out there to hear from, but they're basically either all liberal or they're all conservative. It's very hard to find something that's just tries to cut through and get to the root of every issue. But I mean, going back to what a little bit what I was saying before is that it's all about the money, and if you want to find out the truth of something, you want to find out who's truthful, find out, or where your politicians are up to, find out who's contributing the most money to their campaigns, and that's who they're going to be loyal to.
Well, and that's exactly why they donate to both sides, right?
Yeah.
They donate to both sides because in the end, what they want is they want division, they want the status quo, so they can line their pockets and not get shit done.
There's still a lot of people making money from the status quo. It's like with the prohibition of drugs.
Right.
There's so much money in the criminal justice system, and for lawyers, for police and township budgets, federal budgets, everything. From the Border Patrol all the way through to the Coast Guard. There's a lot of money that gets the private prison system. It's all a revolving door. And without the drugs, you know what I mean? If they legalize drugs, where's that money coming from now?
Right, exactly. Okay, so I forgot to do this earlier. I just pulled it up on my computer here. I wanted to read the farewell address written by George Washington. Have you ever read it or anything?
No, I have heard it because I've watched it, in film. I think it was, I don't know if it wasn't John Adams. They did it, but no, I've never read it myself.
So it's pretty hefty. I mean, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, I don't know if I want to read the whole thing and bore people out. But it was read for 100 years in the school systems. Annually, it was read to to the school children until about the early 1900s when it was clipped. So I kind of want to read it and then get your thoughts on this. And I think this is important. It says farewell address in 1796. Okay, friends and citizens. The period of a new election of a citizen to administer the executive government of the United States being not far distant, and the time actually arrived when your thoughts must be employed in designating the person who is to be clothed with that important trust, it appears to me proper, especially as it may conduce to a more distinct expression of the public voice, that I should now apprise you of the resolution I have reformed to decline being considered among the number of those out of whom a choice is to be made. I beg to you, at the same time, to do me justice, to be assured that this resolution has not been taken without a strict regard to all the considerations appertaining to the relations that which bind a dutiful citizen to this country, and that in withdrawing the tender of service, which silence in my situation might apply, I might influence by no diminution of zeal for our future interest, no deficiency of grateful respect for your past kindness, but I support it by a full conviction that the step is compatible with both. The acceptance of and continuance hitherto in the office in which your suffrage have twice called me have been a uniform sacrifice of inclination to the question of duty and to a deference for what appeared to be your desire. I constantly hope that it would have been much earlier in my power, consistently with motive which I was not at liberty to disregard, to return to that retirement from which I had been reluctantly drawn. The strength of my inclination to do this, previous to the last election, had even led to the preparation of an address to declare to you, but mature reflection on then perplexed and critical posture of our affairs with foreign nations, and unanimous advice of persons entitled to my confidence compelled me to abandon the idea. I rejoice that the state of your concerns, external as well as internal, no longer render the pursuit of inclination incompatible with the sentiment of duty of property, and am persuaded, whatever partially may be retained to my services, that in the present circumstances of our country, you will not disapprove my determination to retire. The impressions with which I first undertook the arduous trust were explained on the proper occasion in the discharge of this trust. I will only say that I have, with good intentions, contributed towards the organization and administration of the government the best exertions of which a very fallible judgment was capable. Not unconscious in the outset of this inferiority of my qualifications, experience in my own eyes, perhaps still more in the eyes of others, has strengthened the modest difference of myself, and every day the increasing weight of years admonishes me more and more in the shade of retirement as is necessary to me, as it will be welcome. Satisfied that if at any circumstances have given peculiar value to my services, they were temporary, I have the consolation to believe that, while choice and prudence invite me to give the political scene, patriotism does not forbid it. And looking forward to the moment which is intended to terminate the career of my public life, my feelings do not permit me to suspend the deep acknowledgement of that debt of gratitude which I owe to my beloved country for the many honors it has conferred upon me, still more the steadfast confidence with which it has supported me, and for the opportunities I have thence enjoyed of manifesting my inviolable attachment by services faithful and persevering, though in usefulness unequal to my zeal. If benefits have resulted in our country from these services, let it always be sometimes dubious vicissitudes of fortune, often discouraging in situations in which not frequently a want of success has counter-nuanced the spirit of criticism. The constancy of your support was unceasing vows that heaven may continue to you the choice tokens of the benevolence, that your union and brotherhood affection may be perpetual, and that the freedom of the Constitution, which is the work of your hands, may be sacrificed, maintained, and its administration, and every departure may be stamped with wisdom and virtue, that, in fine, the happiness of the people of these states, under the auspices of liberty, may be made completely by so careful a preservation and so prudent a use of this blessing as will acquire to them the glory of recommending it to the applause, the affection, and the adoption of every nation which is yet a stranger to it. Here perhaps I ought to stop, but a solitude of your welfare, which cannot end but with my life, and the apprehension of danger, natural to that solicitude, urge me, on an occasion like the present, to offer your solemn contemplation, and to recommend to your frequent review some sentiments which are the result of my reflection, of no inconsiderable observation, and which appear to me all important in the permanency of your felicity as a people. This would be offered to you with the more freedom as you can only see in them the disinterested warnings of a parting friend, who can possibly have no personal motive to bias his counsel. Nor can I forget, as an encouragement to it, your indulgent reception of my sentiments on a former and not dissimilar occasion. Interwoven as is the love of liberty with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine is necessary to fortify, to confirm the attachment. The unity of government which constitutes you one people is also now dear to you. It is justly so, for it is the main pillar and the edifice of your real independence, the support of your tranquility at home, your peace abroad, of your safety, of your prosperity, of that very liberty which you so highly prize. But as it is easy to foresee that, from different causes and from different quarters, much pains will be taken, many artifices employed to weaken in your minds the conviction of his truth. At this is a point in your political fortress against which the batteries of internal and external enemies will be most constantly and actively, though often covertly and insidiously directed. It is the infinite moment that you should properly estimate the immense value of your national union to your collective and individual happiness, that you could cherish a cordial, habitual, and immovable attachment to it, accustoming yourself to think and speak or speak of it as the palladium of your political safety and prosperity, watching for its preservation with jealousy, anxiety, discontinuing whatever may suggest even a suspicion that it can, in any event, be abandoned, and indignity frowning upon the first dawning of every attempt to alienate any portion of our country from the rest, or to enfeeble the sacred ties which link together the various parts. For this you have every inducement of sympathy and interest. Citizens by birth of choice or a common country, that country has a right to concentrate your affections. The name of American, which belongs to you in your national capacity, must always exalt the just pride of patriotism more than any appellation derived from the local discrimination. With slight shades of differences, you have the same religion, manners, habits, and political principles you have in common cause, fought and triumphed together. The independence and liberty you possess are the work of joint councils and joint efforts, of common dangers, sufferings, and successes. I told you, this is long.
Yeah.
But these considerations, however powerfully they address themselves to your sensibility, are greatly outweighed by those which are applied more immediately to your interest. How every portion of our country finds the most commanding motives for a careful guarding and preserving the union of the whole. The North, in an unrestrained intercourse with the South, protected by the equal laws of a common government, finds the productions of the latter great additional resources of maritime and commercial enterprises and precious materials of manufacturing and industry. The South, in the same intercourse, benefiting by the agency of the North, see its agriculture grow and its commerce expand, turning partly into its own channels. The seamen of the North, it finds its particular navigation invigorated, and while it contributes in different ways to nourish and increase the general progression, improvement in interior communications by land and waste, will more and more find a valuable vent for the commodities which it brings from abroad or manufactured at home. The West derives from the East supplies requisite to its growth and comfort, and what is perhaps of still greater consequence, it must be necessity owed the secure enjoyment of dispensable outlets for its own productions to the weight, influence, and the future maritime strength of the Atlantic side of the Union, directed by an indissoluble community of interest as one nation. Any other tenure by which the West can hold this essential advantage, whether derived from its own separate strength or from an apostate and unnatural connection with any foreign power, must be intrinsically precarious. It's a lot. In this farewell address, he makes the point that a two-party system is stupid. It's crazy, because what it's going to do is divide the country and hyperpolarize people. And what people need to recognize is that they're all the same. They're American. And and the parties are bullshit. He also says, don't get involved in other countries' wars. Don't be involved in other countries' affairs.
We were never meant to be an empire.
No.
That's how it was when they first laid it all out.
No, you're right. And I mean, and he could have been a monarch, right? He was so popular.
But I mean, before America, and our founding fathers, no one, not that I know of, since Roman times, since the Greeks before them, the Romans, where there was representational government. You know what I mean? There was, more a parliamentary system in the UK still, but still the king still had sway over everything.
And the Greeks introduced democracy, right? But it wasn't a democratic republic. But the point that Washington is trying to tell us, because at the time he's seeing Alexander Hamilton feud with Thomas Jefferson and Madison, and they're forming their own political parties, he sees nothing but division. Instead of them coming together and compromising with each other and finding the common ground that they both share. And that's what he's saying. He's saying, what are we doing with a two-party system? We need to move up past that, and people need to be elected based on individuality, not based on a religion or on a dogmatic way of thinking or
but it's extremely difficult to do. I mean, we're pack animals. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just look at like any elementary school or high school. Do you know what I mean? It's like everybody goes into their own little cliques, and the same thing happens, I guess, when you get older and, you go out into life, you get out into the world. Think of Congress or whatever as a high school. Everybody goes into their own little cliques and who can help me do this and who are the cool kids and who are the, who aren't,
Well, I think that's the divide. I think that Washington, in his best endeavor, tried to share his perspective, but he was a wolf. He was a leader. He wasn't sheep. He wasn't a follower. He was going to do things his way, and he did it with the best advice of those around him, And I think a lot of our founding fathers were that way. Teddy Roosevelt was that way. I mean, you got to remember at the time he was elected, he was a crazy Republican. He was an extremist.
He's the first guy that I know of any person in power talking about conservation, talking about conserving natural resources.
Right.
That's the first I've ever heard about
and he was
anybody doing that.
He was a hunter.
Oh yeah, he was that's one of the things. I mean, like there's duality in people, and there's duality in life.
But he
wanted to preserve the environment, but still he went big game hunting.
But he not only was a hunter and fought for conservation, he also was the one that started antitrust laws. He's also the one that broke up the banks at the time. If you look at history, if history repeats itself, this time right now in the present is very similar to the times of the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And Roosevelt saw this disparity. He saw this problem with the banks investing in politicians and politicians passing laws and regulation for banks. And so it wasn't until Reagan came along and he stopped using antitrust laws. We haven't used antitrust laws successfully in decades. And then you have Bill Clinton, who deregulates the banks at the end of the 90s. And then what happened, 10 years later? You had 2008. I mean, where the banking industry has to get bailed out because they made a series of bad investments, toxic, toxic assets, right? And our politicians said, oh, don't worry about it, we'll give you money.
Well, it's because they repealed the Glass-Steagall law.
Can you go explain that?
Glass-Steagall, from my understanding, was the law that separated the bank you go to from investment banks. You know what I mean? Like there's there's investment banks, and then there's your bank that you go to where you have your own. And it let those, from my understanding, let them combine the assets.
Yeah.
Or combine monies, and so money was just flowing in from everywhere, and it was one of the things that they put into place after the crash of '29 to stop something like that from ever happening again.
Wow.
And they repealed it, and
wow.
That's what allowed a lot of the things to allow credit default swaps, which were the things that the products that they were selling that bankrupted the system.
So what do you think about these politicians who can trade stocks and buy stocks?
No, it's complete bullshit.
During and after hours.
You get elected to a job that pays you $80 to $100 a year or something like that as a congressman, senator, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And then, but you've got, after a year or two in office, you've got $5-10 million in the bank.
Right.
How the fuck does that happen?
They get perks for life. They get a decent salary.
Yeah.
And they're committing trading fraud. That's basically why you become a politician. You don't go into politics to help people. You go into politics to commit insider trading violations. So you can amass a certain amount of wealth and ensure that your family's taken care of. We were talking about this in the clinic the other day, not with patients. Wink, wink. And the argument was, we'll go back to that football analogy. Knowing what you know about football now, would you sacrifice your health and shorten your lifespan to ensure generational wealth with your family? As a football player.
I would. I had to say that I would. But then again, I think my only problem with that analogy is that a football player, what he's doing out there is only impacting pretty much his. the repercussions that are pretty much only affecting him or some immediate members of his family.
Well, I got something.
But the politician, sacrificing to go or not, whatever, going in and doing all that shit to get the money to build up that financial stability is impacting millions of people's lives across this country.
Well, I got another one. I'm going to ask you. What do you think?
Do you follow what I'm saying?
What would you do?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I see the difference there between the two positions. I mean, it's a tough question. I heard you talking about it, and I didn't. I wasn't aware what the life expectancy was for an NFL player.
Well, it depends. If you're like an offensive lineman,
you got maybe like around about 6 years, 7 years, maybe for like if
it's like
for an NFL player.
I think if you're an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, I think the average lifespan is like 49, 50, somewhere around there.
So,
I thought you meant the lifespan of
you're talking about
career.
Career
of a career.
3.3 years.
3.3.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
I said 7 years.
And the life expectancy ranges from 53 to 59 years old. Average football player. It is position dependent. The more you get cracked in the head, obviously, the less the shorter your life's going to be. But still, for an average to be in the 50s, to not even be 60 years old, that's not old. That's you're looking at your last few years here.
No. He's in his 30s.
Yes.
Okay,
so are we all. But
okay.
Again, I mean, we're still, we're in the second half then anyway, at least. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you're gonna tell me as like a 21, 22-year-old guy coming out of college, like, hey, we're gonna pay you this amount of money to go play the game you've been playing since you were a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. What tomorrow? What are you talking about? 20 years from now? Get the hell out of here! I'm going to make the money now.
22 years
Those
old.
girls over there want to sleep with me if I'm a football player. Yes, I'm going to take the money now.
It's an extremely difficult decision for
people
somebody
get pissed off.
that doesn't have the introspection to actually put a decent amount of thought behind it.
Well, the brain's not fully formed.
I mean, we can sit here and think about it, and
it's kind of
we're thinking a little bit differently.
And you're 20 years old, you're invincible. You're 20 years old, they're like, we want you to smash yourself until you're retarded. We'll give you a couple of million. Do you do it?
Yeah, I'm going to be 50 this summer. My brain's still not fully formed.
I think I would do it as well. And I think I would do it because I grew up in poverty and through the system and such. So I'm thinking about the betterment of my, it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. But I can understand people's hesitancy with it. Now, let's flip that around. You are elected to office as a politician. They come to you and they say, hey, Vinny, we're gonna give you a lot of money if you play ball. All right? But you just got to sell your soul. Or, you resist us, you're going to be out at the next term. And you're not going to get a dime. What do?
No, me right now, no, I don't do it because I know it's easy for me to say right now, but no, because I believe if you go into politics, you are a servant. You should be serving the people and not looking out for your own personal interest. Number one. Number two, the way I was brought up and the way I believe in is that you be a person of your word. Especially when you're doing a job, like I said before, that impacts millions of lives. All right, your decision that you're going to make in your office in the Capitol or whatever it is, the decisions that you make have ripple effects that we can't even comprehend right now. You could be, signing a transportation bill that you want to get put before the House, and if it gets passed, the ripple effects of that bill that are going to ripple throughout the country, and you can't even see what the full effect of what it's going to be. You see the good intentions that you have in there, but you don't know everything that's going to happen. You know what I mean? If this bill affects gas prices, it affects someone's job, if this affects someone that has nothing to do with it, just affects their access to transportation to be able to get to a job that has nothing to do with it. Do you understand?
I
see what I'm saying?
What about you? What about you over there? You sell your soul, or you stay innocent and pure?
I don't think I want to go anywhere near the politics. I don't want to go into it myself. I don't even want to get into that situation.
That's a political answer. He's being bureaucratic over there.
Because I don't want to have to face that decision. First of all, I mean, yeah, money would be great, and or like set myself up, set my family up for life. That's great, but to be like you said, I wasn't raised to be a devious, scandalous cheater, and I don't. So I would avoid a situation that would put me into that dilemma. But I was thinking about it as you were talking, and maybe that. It would never, first of all, would never happen. But perhaps if we change the system, take all the politicians out, replace them with people who do not come from a political background, who do not have family in politics, and every time somebody new comes in, no affiliation with politics, weren't raised by politicians. Like all of the people that are in there now are coming from families, it looks like, that were politicians. We got Bush 1, Bush 2, we got we got the Clinton clan in there, we got
the Clinton
clan.
From Arkansas.
From Arkansas, yeah.
You know that there Clinton clan?
What if we just put people in there that weren't raised that way? That people like us that, that are servants, so would be more likely to or focus on helping the people, doing the things that are going to help the people, and at the end of the day we get our paycheck, and when we're done. Hey, that's fine, and
I trust me, I get what you're saying, but for me, it's just like the whole system, that the hoops that someone has to jump through to become a congressman, to become a senator, to be in that world. It's kind of, it's kind of like, they're putting you through your paces before you get there, so you can't say no once you do get there. Do you know what I mean?
It's little by little.
Yeah.
But damn it, I wish you would have mentioned the Clintons, because we're probably going to be dead.
Oh.
Damn.
Oh man.
If we wind up, we wake up dead in the next few days, you know what happened to us. Listen,
Suicide.
This is it's very interesting.
Chloroformed by a ghost of Jeffrey Epstein and
oh man,
fucked in the ass.
No. That's like that Sam Kinison joke, the necrophilia. You think you're dead, you've moved on, you got peace, and all of a sudden someone's ramming you in the ass. You're like, oh fuck, even in the end. No. Listen, man, I think you guys are definitely admirable individuals, and I think most politicians go in with good intentions to do the right thing, but they get corrupted.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Now me, I have no sense of morality. So I probably would sign right there on the fucking dotted line. I'd be like, how much? How much can I? Yeah, I could see myself selling my soul to ensure.
If you didn't have any sense of morality, you wouldn't do what you do for a living.
Got you fooled, man. No. I mean, I can see why someone would sell their soul, to ensure, wealth, generational wealth for their family. So I can understand that.
No, yeah, most definitely. I can see it, but
well, let me ask you
I would like to think even if I was selling my doing whatever, I was doing some dirty shit to make sure that my family and everything was taken care of for generations to come. I think I would hopefully also be setting up some good charities and stuff like that to try and give back as much while I was alive.
Buy your soul back, right?
Yeah, buy it back. Good deed.
So, with the problems of the world that we're solving right now.
3 white guys in a room in Florida solving all the problems in the world. How would you handle it? What would you do? What do you think the very first thing you would do if you could change things tomorrow, if you could rule the world? Basically, I would just be looking, in all seriousness, to change things for the better. I'd be doing what I said, following a money trail of whatever it is, whether it was, I was focusing on the military industrial complex, the drug, what do you call it? High-end drug cartels, drug war. Or just, the simple, business commerce, follow the money. I would follow the money and find out, who was doing what and why, and making decisions after that. But that's the one thing you would want to see happen. I think is politicians having to argue the merits of the bills that they want passed on the merits of the bill, and not on a lobbyist, stock giveaways or a lobbyist junket that they went on, you know what I mean, somewhere, or you'd want it to be make decisions based on sound choices that are going to do good for the American people, not on on a backroom deal where someone, I scratch my back, I scratch your back, you scratch mine type of thing.
Vinny, stick to wine, puppies, and your podcast, because I don't know if you're going to be let into the building.
No, I would never be let into the building.
Don't lock the fucking door.
No.
All right, well, got anything else for tonight? Any exciting news? Anything else?
I've got no exciting news.
And you never have exciting news. What about you?
I get to work with dogs tomorrow.
Nice. All right, man.
I am really excited about that. I gotta say, I'm really so fucking happy about what I do right now.
That's awesome, man. That's good that you found something that you like. You look forward to waking up and doing.
Yeah.
And it's more than just a job and shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, I was making a lot more money selling wine, trust me, but I wasn't happy at all.
What if you combine the two? What if you sold wine while taking puppies with you? Imagine how much more wine you would sell.
It could, that's something I've been thinking about.
That's
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep, I get 10%.
Just a wine and puppy bar?
Yeah, there you go.
Drink the wine, pet the puppies, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Just, do they have to wear hairnets?
Hairnets?
They still don't get in the wine.
No, they gotta wear masks. It's fucking COVID.
The dogs? The dogs gotta wear masks. Oh, okay. Well, we did a couple hours. I've got nothing else. I mean, we can continue to go down the rabbit hole of
you
politics.
can read another farewell address.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That took about an hour and a half, didn't it?
Jeez. I want to read the whole thing, but I didn't realize how...
That wasn't the whole thing?
No, man. That was like...
Fuck, these people had a long attention span back when he was getting out of office. I guess there was no Twitter back then. There wasn't,
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, and I couldn't even pronunciate everything. Jeez.
Like, just kept thinking like, oh, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say more and more and more.
Well, they were so poetic, though. He's building, he's talking about his duties and how grateful he is. And
I feel sorry for the guy who had to hold up the cue cards for him, because there wasn't any monitor that he could read off of.
Oh, no, man. I wanted to read the whole thing, but I don't want to subject everybody to it. But the bottom line is, it was read for 100 years in the school system, year after year, to remind Americans what being an American really was. It wasn't about,
It's about making all the money in the world and stick it in your ears. And
there you go. Well, that's something to talk about, though. I mean, like, you think about it.
The American dream is financial. It's not ethical.
That's right. When they talk about the revolution, the Revolutionary War, that's fucking bullshit. Like, oh, it was based on freedom, no, it wasn't. It was based on taxes.
Yeah, you had a bunch of rich white guys that didn't want to pay taxes. That's the American Revolution right there.
The slogan, the whole slogan was, no taxation without representation. That was the fucking slogan, and that's what started the Revolutionary War. It wasn't freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
They just used that to pull the rest of the people in.
Yeah,
the sheep.
And to think if old King George would have just heard him out for a second,
right?
None of this shit would have happened.
That's right. We'd be British.
Yeah, and this would still be part of Spain. Who had
this? True. Oh man, the girls would be hot.
Well, they're hot now.
Spanish girls?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially the ones in Spain.
In Spain.
Oh, God, there's hot girls working at the airport.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, I'm thinking about, for whatever reason, I'm thinking
Barcelona,
about
forget about it.
Portugal, Brazil. I've known some Brazilian girls. Man, that's fire. They are fucking gorgeous. And Venezuelan.
I've never been anywhere in South America.
No?
I traveled a lot through Europe, but I never got into South America.
Those Brazilian girls, the Venezuelans will kill you. The Brazilians are like free. They are.
Venezuelans
sexy.
make really good rum.
Do they?
Oh, yeah.
I love rum. I do. I haven't had rum in a while. Rum, scotch, any form of whiskey is that's all I need.
Yeah, I finally finished the 10 cases of wine that were in my house from when I left selling wine. I had like all these samples left over. Finally finished all those, but I still got a lot of liquor left.
Okay, man. Well, I think we'll wrap this up right now then. You
Okay.
feel good about that?
I'm good.
You know, Vinny, I want you to come back on, man.
Yeah, I do too.
You're awesome. So you can come back any other time.
This is a good
Any other time.
test podcast.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, you'll have a lot of fun with yours, man. And if you need help, you know.
Yeah, once I figure out what I'm doing,
Yeah.
just, it's nothing to try to figure out, just fucking go do it.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
thing, yeah.
Just go with it, you know. I mean, it took us a while, but
Yeah.
I mean, this shit was on our brains for 2 years. And then, it was just, okay, stop fucking around and let's go.
Inspiration requires inspired action.
Like another poet. Well, that goes right into, the next part of our segment here. This is the typical ending that we have. We want to say that if there's any monetization, we're going to donate 25% of that money to...
No, we're going to split it between the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and the Spinal Muscular Atrophy.
I got all of that. I'll take it. Give me the money.
Spoken like a true politician.
Give us the money, Lebowski.
No, yeah. So, if you feel generous and you want to donate to keep the podcast alive and to, contribute to these poor individuals that are struggling with conditions that they have no control over, feel free.
Right now, I feel like I'm checking out at a grocery store and they say, "Oh, you want to donate, some money to a children's charity?" Like, fuck no.
Well,
yeah, okay, yeah, I do. There's people behind me. Yeah, I do. Okay, here's a $5.
Listen, the point is, this podcast is going to remain free. We're going to remain free. But any type of monetization that we get, is going to, 25% of that's going to go towards those charities.
That's awesome.
The other thing is, you were talking about inspiration. There's a couple people that inspired us to do this. And so, we agreed that for the next year, 2021, we're going to give a shout out to people like Sam Harris and Sean Carroll and that beautiful British bastard Adam Meekins and the wonderful whiz Joe Rogan. Because those guys are that inspired us to get off our ass and start talking about shit. I mean, Joe Rogan's been bitching about somebody talking about health and nutrition and how to help one's immunity and why aren't we getting out there on a loudspeaker. And that's where we felt like, hey, we got something to say. It's in our brains. Let's get it out. And that's why we started this. So thank you to those guys for the inspiration. And we appreciate everything.
Okay. Thank you, Vinny, for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, guys, man. It was awesome being here. I like you guys a lot. I think you're great. It's just fun, man. It was fun just talking. I really hope to come back.
That's awesome. Let's go play with some puppies.